Jim has a broad background. He's owned his own business. He's been in sales. One of the things in the interview process that impressed me the most was that he said that a salesman on his feet, one salesman on his feet is better than two on his seat. And he is ready to get out of the office and start doing his job as fundraising. One of the things we're having to really hold Jim on is that he has such broad experience in higher education. He knows a lot about a lot of things, and I've had to keep saying, Jim, you're the fundraiser. You're the fundraiser. You're the fundraiser. He's heard it, and I'm excited for Jim to tell you about what he's going to help us do in terms of developing new friends and moving forward and getting this school in great shape.
This is an institution of higher education, and tests are administered in this place. And it happens that we need to administer a test this morning. It is true that I've had various backgrounds. Some of them are pertinent and some are just fun. So that the first test question is, how would you go about talking to someone you already know and tell them why they should consider sharing some of their resources with this institution? For example, I used to sell anesthesia machines. When all other things failed, I would turn to the anesthesiologist and say, I think you should buy my anesthesia machine for its nutritional value. Now, the physicians in the room may have heard this from other salespeople, and they would usually look startled, and they would say, it's nutritional value, what are you talking about? And I said, well, if for no other reason, you should buy it for its nutritional value because it feeds my kids. So, here's the test. Imagine that you have a friend who knows only a little bit about Austin Grad. They may not even know the truth. They may just have mythology. Name, other than nutritional value, name one thing that might capture their attention to the point that they would consider sharing some of their resources with us. Who will go first? This will be graded, so be careful.
Promote biblical literacy.
Promote biblical literacy. Now, biblical literacy is a tricky word or phrase. It can imply the very basics. When we talk about literacy in the school system, we're talking reading and writing, among other things. But without biblical literacy, can there be biblical understanding?
No.
It's hard. Maybe God can do that. I don't know if we humans can. So one of the things we had to do was figure out, is that a message that might resonate with people who have resources that they would be willing to share? And we're testing that right now. So far, so good. What's another thing you might mention to your friend?
Prepare teachers and preachers. Good teachers and preachers.
Prepare teachers and preachers. You've maybe seen the data of a recent survey of our graduates. 75% of them said upon leaving Austin Grad that they either continued in ministry or they entered ministry, and the other 25% said they went on to further education. Now, part of my background is in adult vocational education, and those data, 75% in the field and 25% going on to further higher education, is considered a 100% vocational success rate. I don't know of another institution, whether it be a seminary or otherwise, that can contend that is the case. So that's a message. If you want your dollars to go a long way toward ministers, missionaries, evangelists, church members, shepherds, you can hardly find any place that has this success rate. What's another one?
place where you can ask any question that you might not be allowed to ask in church.
I was a shepherd, and I'd be afraid of that question. Some of the questions that you might ask would require deep biblical study. That's done here. Not only is it done here, it's written down. And do you know that if you're a shepherd in Miles City, Montana, you can go online and look at the answers our faculty, have written down? And it's been going on for years. And it's well-regarded research. What other thing could you say as to why someone might wish to share their resources with us?
Relationship of true Christian faith with things that Ron was talking about, intellectual breadth and historical situation in which Christianity has arisen and lived now for 2,000.
We have an amazing heritage to talk about, dating back to Christ and also dating back to Adam and Eve. We have a message no one else has. You have in your chair, hopefully, a copy of this flyer. We wanted something to test our theories, and so this is now a live flyer that's being used to test our theories about what resonates with people when we're talking about them sharing their resources with us. Slightly different conversation if you're talking with them about enrolling or having their students enroll with us, but this is a donor idea, and you'll notice that beginning on the 4th page, we start the experiment. We are proposing to experiment with 5 themes. One is deep biblical literacy on page 4. The next one is we have a singular mission. The other institutions of higher education within our fellowship are comprehensive universities for the most part, and they have to spread their attention across many other fields. We don't have that burden. We can do one thing and do it extremely deeply and well. And that might be a reason someone would want to share their resources with us. And then on page 6, I've mentioned the very focused vocational outcomes that a recent study proved. And this is no trivial matter. Now, there's another variable here, and that is the people that want to be bivocational. That is, they want to be doing ministry, shepherding, leading their churches, and they still want to make a living in some other way, which is biblical, right? What did Paul do? Well, he made tents. That was his other vocation. I've mentioned the scholarly research that's available. My own view as an elder was I couldn't get enough. Every question that came up, and you mentioned that difficult situation where questions come up that we're not really prepared. Boy, I wish I had known then that the material researched here was available to me online for free instantly. And then page 8, enduring investments. If you want to talk with someone about the return on their investment in an Austin grad, imagine how long that return goes on. Whatever is learned here becomes part of the heart and mind of the student. And if that student becomes a shepherd, a counselor, an evangelist, a pulpit preacher, a member in the pew, for the rest of their life, and probably the lives of their children, and maybe even their grandchildren, and could we even say to 7 generations, that investment endures. And so if you're talking to someone who's wanting to make an investment, where can they go to get an investment that will endure for generations, or we might even say for eternity? So what do we really need? Yesterday in the board meeting, we talked about some very specific needs. I'll mention one. We need to improve our annual fund so that never again do we need to worry about deficit spending. And never again do we need to worry about operational debt. It's actually fairly simple, not necessarily easy to fix this. All we need to do is increase our annual fund contributions by $800,000 a year. But we don't have to start at $800,000. This year, if we can increase our operational giving by $265,000, there's 10 months left in our fiscal year. We need to find people willing to give $26,000 each month for the next 10 months. That's doable. Then next year, we need to increase it by about 35%, and keep doing that over the next 5 years. And when we are done, we will have paid off all debt and covered all expenses, and no longer be in a place where we're worried about operational debt or operational deficit. There are other goals in this program as well. I want to introduce, if you have not met him, John Halton, who's with us. In my opinion, John is one of the most successful higher ed fundraisers in America, and he has volunteered some of his time, and we have purchased some of his time to help us do a very good job in bringing in enough money so we don't ever again have to worry about the deficit and debt. And I'd like you to get to know John if you don't already know him. He's coaching me. I do have background in higher ed fundraising, among other things, and I could use his help as well. So I'm thrilled that you're here. Thank you for listening. Go out and find somebody and try one of these 5 theories, or tell them that it's for nutritional value. But in any case, we could use their help. Thank you.